News Channel 5 Network. This is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Wednesday night on News Channel 5. Plus, as is customary, our phone lines will be open tonight, 737-7767. A chance for you guys to chime in with whatever you want to talk about in the world of sports. And there's a lot going on. This is one of the busier times of the year for sure. We are just under 24 hours away now from kickoff of the Titans and Steelers in Pittsburgh. You have a Pittsburgh team that offensively has some of the biggest weapons in all of the NFL, but to this year haven't quite found their stride offensively yet. Meanwhile, defensively, they've sort of gotten back to the steel curtain defenses of the past. The Titans looking to still get their rhythm offensively. They've been a little bit better the last couple of weeks, especially in the red zone. That's going to be key tomorrow night. But can they finally get going? This is a matchup of two first-place teams, and you're looking right now at like the 2 and the 3 seeds basically in the AFC. Maybe the 2 and the 4 seeds. This is a massive, massive game, and whoever wins takes a huge step towards winning their division, takes a huge step towards being in prime position for the playoffs, and also home field advantage. That's another thing that will be heavily impacted by who wins and who loses tomorrow night at Heinz Field. Titans ready for the stage of Thursday night football, ready for the atmosphere of Heinz Field. We'll see how they can come out and if they're ready. Want to hear from you tonight. What are your thoughts about the game tomorrow? What are your thoughts about this Titans team at this point? Call us up, 737-7767. Some other topics we can get to. The Preds just with a phenomenal effort last night. Maybe their best start to finish effort of the season against the Washington Capitals. They win 6-3. They have now won 5 consecutive games. They head to Minnesota tomorrow night to take on the Wild. Does this look like a team to you that can make another run towards the Stanley Cup? It does to me over the last couple of weeks. And to think we're still a month away or so from Ryan Ellis being back in the fold for this team. Nick Bonino just got back in the lineup the other night. Kyle Turris just got added with the trade last weekend. Yet, they're beating some of the best teams in hockey right now. Capitals last night, Penguins last weekend, Blue Jackets, Kings, Ducks. That's kind of a who's who of the NHL right now, and the Preds have beaten them all here recently. So your thoughts on the Preds at this point of the season? Of course, we can talk college football as well. Vanderbilt still with a huge opportunity to get itself into the postseason, but it's got to win its final 2 games. It's got to beat Missouri this weekend on Senior Day, and it's going to have to go to Knoxville and win. This is the same position that the Doors were in a year ago. Frankly, by record, it's probably an easier final 2 games than last year when they had to beat Ole Miss and a Tennessee team that won 9 games. But the momentum is totally different. A year ago, Vanderbilt was trending up as the season went along and put it all together the final 2 weeks. This year, you're talking about a team that started 3-0 and has now lost 6 of 7. So can they refine the mojo and turn that momentum around enough to come out and win these last 2 games? And then Tennessee. Brady Hoke steps in this weekend against LSU. My guess is that won't matter a whole lot in terms of the product on the field. Tennessee in the same spot as Vanderbilt, needing to win the final 2 games to go to a bowl game. For some reason, that just seems like such a far-reaching idea, the way this team and the way this season has gone. But still a possibility. We'll see if Brady Hoke can work his magic in turning that locker room and team around here in the final 2 weeks. But also now the attention turns to who the next coach on Rocky Top will be. Coming up tonight, I'll get to some of my thoughts on who the candidates are. From the home run hires to maybe the realistic hires we'll run through them all. I've written a piece for newschannel5.com that's got some of that in it as well. We'll discuss that. Would love to hear your thoughts as well with that. And college basketball. We talked about Belmont's huge win over Vanderbilt the other day. And coming up at 8:45 tonight, we will talk to Belmont head basketball coach Rick Byrd about that win. And now another huge test tomorrow night. The Bruins go down to the Borough to take on Middle Tennessee, two of the best mid-major programs in the country. We've known about them for a while here in the mid-state, but now the nation is starting to pay attention to both of them. Both of them have been perennial conference title contenders, conference champions, and both are often factors in the NCAA tournament. Of course, Middle has won a game in the tournament each of the past 2 years. Belmont's been there, I think, 6 of the last 9 years in the tournament. By winning the conference tournament, they've won regular season titles several times besides that as well. And these two teams factor into March. They're just part of the March equation. And so when they get together, it's a big-time non-conference basketball game. That's what we've got tomorrow night down in the Borough. So that should be interesting as well. So a bunch of different topics that we can get to tonight. 737-7767. We'll also probably get to some of our analysis from the weekend. Jonathan Hutton, of course, is always joining us on the Electric Power Company Sunday Sports Central to help us break down what we saw against the Bengals on Sunday. We'll get back to some of that, and we will dive into a little bit of what we'll expect to see tomorrow night in Pittsburgh as well with that stuff. And again, Rick Byrd coming up at 8:45 to talk about their showdown down in the Borough tomorrow night against Middle Tennessee. Phone lines open tonight, 737-7767. And we begin tonight. Our first call is Eric. Eric, thanks for the call. You're first up here on SportsLine.
Yes, yeah, I was just calling. I got my man, the Pineapple Man, Marcus Mariota. Recognize my man.
Yeah.
Very much.
Anything about him in particular?
No, I said my man, he got the pineapple suit on.
Okay.
Give my man some love. Just give my man some love.
Sure, the man with the pineapple suit deserves all the love. If you want to go out in pineapple suit and cheer on your team, you're getting love from me, man. Fans like that are what make it great.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for the call tonight, Eric. And feel free. Call it about your pineapple suits, your friends at the game, or any of the other topics we talked about here tonight. The Titans getting set for a big one tomorrow night in Pittsburgh. And this is something that I'm not sure people around here realize when you talk about the position they're in and the opportunity that they have tomorrow night is where they fit in the AFC. Sure, we've talked a lot about the division because, frankly, the Titans have talked a lot about the division and how important it is to them because a year ago, they missed out on the playoffs because of the division record. The fact that the Texans did so much better in the division to ultimately win the AFC South, while the Titans just went 2-4 against the Texans and the Jags and the Colts. That became such an offseason focus that it's sort of the focus that all of us have had as well. But when you look at the NFL standings right now, specifically in the AFC, there's only 6 teams right now in the AFC that have winning records. So that's your entire playoff field as you currently stand here today. Which, by the way, brings up the question, some people have talked about expanding the playoffs. Is that a good idea when you look at what the AFC looks like right now? The Patriots have won 5 in a row. They're just 7-2, and they'd be your 1 seed if the season ended today. The Steelers have won 4 in a row and are now 7-2. They'd be your 2 seed as the season stands today. The Chiefs, who've struggled here as of late, are 6-3, and they'd be the 3 seed right now. Titans would be your 4 with the tiebreaker over the Jags, who would be the 5. So that would be your first-round matchup here in Nashville right now. And by the way, they play Week 17 as well, so you might have them in back-to-back weeks. And then the only other team in the AFC with a winning record right now is the Buffalo Bills. We'll get to more on them coming up in just a little bit. But they're 5-4. So when you think about that, the Titans are 3 games above 500 in a conference that only has 6 teams above 500 right now. And the only teams that are close after that, the Dolphins, 4-5, obviously they beat the Titans. The Ravens, 4-5, whom the Titans beat. And then you've got the Raiders, who are 4-5, who also beat the Titans earlier this year. But, the Titans are 2.5 games up on all three of those teams right now at this point of the season. You feel really good about that situation. Plus, not to mention, they've got the tiebreaker currently over the Jaguars. And if they could win tomorrow night in Pittsburgh, then they'd have the tiebreaker over the Steelers. The Titans are in a very, very advantageous position in terms of where they stand right now looking towards the playoffs. They want to take care of the division because that obviously guarantees you a home game, the possibility to fight for a bye in the first round. But they're in a great position right now for the playoffs. So that should be understood. That's where they stand right now, 9 games into the season. Back to the phones we go. Let's say hello to Jay. Jay, how are you?
Hey, Steve. How you doing tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for the call.
I was just wondering, of course, I'm a Vandy fan, and I'm not real happy with, Kansas State. That was an exciting game, but ever since that Bama game, it seems like it just went downhill, and the defense is terrible. I wondered what you thought about Derek Mason's job, and also Chip Kelly. Do you think he'd do good at Florida? And I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Ooh, yeah. Chip Kelly, it sounds like there's some legs to Chip Kelly to Florida right now, and that's an interesting one to me because most of his ties are to the West Coast. It seems like he appears to want to recruit on that side of the country, so to go to Florida, it's just a different animal. That being said, there's a lot of talent around Florida. And with that offense and the speed that you can get in the state of Florida, I would have to think Chip Kelly would do a great job there. You have to believe he's a massive upgrade to what they've had recently. Will Muschamp in his first coaching job kind of figuring it out on the ropes there, and then Jim McElwain, which has turned into be a disaster at Florida. So if Chip Kelly goes there, I think you could have Florida coming back into being the Florida that we've learned to expect over the last 20, 25 years or so, of being a team that has a dynamic offense, uses all of their athletes that they can get from the state, and could really, really, really be a factor, not just in the Eastern Division of the SEC, but SEC and national championship races. As far as Derek Mason, I like Derek Mason a ton as a person, but he has had an interesting tenure at Vanderbilt in that in his first year he seemed kind of overwhelmed. I think he didn't hire very well on his initial staff. I think he made several bad decisions in how he managed his players and positions, specifically the quarterback job that season. But it was as if as soon as that season was over, he corrected everything. He sat back, looked at the program, took stock of what went right and what went wrong, and he got rid of people. He hired good people to replace them. He put himself in charge of the defense, and all that paid off the last couple of years as they made strides and last year got to the Independence Bowl. And so I think you have to give him a lot of credit for that. They had some talent coming back specifically on offense this year, but they lost a lot of people on the lines. And what you'll find in college football is especially, it's true at every level, but college football especially, when you go from being a veteran team on the line to an inexperienced team on the line, you're going to get pushed around. And that's been the case for Vanderbilt this year. They just look outmanned right now. That's a little bit frustrating in year 4 for being outmanned like that. But we'll see. We'll see how Derek Mason can bounce back. I don't think he's at all in trouble right now because of where the program has come from to get to last year and even this year in what they're doing. I don't think he's in trouble. I think he certainly gets next year to come back to Vanderbilt. Plus, if you're Vanderbilt, do you want to be competing for a head coach with Tennessee and Arkansas? I assume Brett Bielema's out at Arkansas and Florida in the same year. Ole Miss is looking for something as well. This is a year where a lot of SEC teams are going to be shopping for coaches. And as much as I love Vanderbilt and as much as I love Nashville, Vanderbilt falls down the pecking order in looking for those guys. And so to me, it just doesn't make sense to make that move on Derek Mason this year. So I think he is for sure back next year. But if they lose out here or even only win one of the final 2 and don't get back to a bowl game, it changes the pressure for next year. I mean, if if they win out and get to a bowl game, if they get back to back-to-back bowl games here, I don't think there's any pressure whatsoever on Derek Mason next year because he would have taken them to back-to-back bowl games in year 3 and year 4. If, however, they don't go there this year and take a step back, well, then I think next year becomes more important. Because what do you do next year? Do you get back to where you feel like you should be and into a bowl game? Or do you regress again, in which case I think you have a problem on your hands. So I still like Derek Mason. I think he's a great guy. I think his defensive track record is really impressive. But for right now, the way this team has kind of fallen apart in SEC play and the way the defense has been so outmanned, and I don't put it on scheme or anything like that. They're outmanned right now. The way that's been the case, it certainly raises some question marks about where they are at this current time. Our phone lines are open tonight. We want to hear from you. 737-7767, the number. We got to take our first break. We'll come back. More SportsLine on the way right after this here on News Channel 5 Plus.